Attraction is often spoken about as if it's a single quality, something you either have or you don't. But that understanding misses how connection actually forms. What first catches attention is rarely what keeps someone close. Attraction unfolds over time, in layers, each answering a different human need: safety, ease, respect, trust. And when we see it as a process, not a trait, everything becomes clearer. The first layer of attraction happens almost instantly, before language, before intention, before we decide anything at all. The mind may believe it's choosing, but the body has already responded. In those first seconds, perception moves faster than thought, scanning for signs of safety, vitality, and coherence. Facial symmetry and visible health register without effort. Posture and movement speak even louder, whether a body feels settled within itself or subtly tense. Stillness, when it's genuine, often signals regulation rather than passivity. And height, whether literal or energetic, functions as a cue of presence, not superiority, but groundedness. Even the voice enters before meaning does. Tone, pacing, and softness are felt before words are understood. A calm voice lowers the nervous system. A rushed one activates it. None of this is judged consciously. It's sensed. But this layer does not decide connection. It only decides whether attention opens. It's the doorway, not the room. Many people confuse this moment for attraction itself, mistaking access for depth. Yet what happens here is simple. The system asks one quiet question. Is it safe enough to stay present for what comes next? If the answer is yes, the next layer begins. If not, no amount of explanation can reopen that door. Once attention has opened, attraction shifts into a quieter evaluation. This is no longer about being noticed, but about how it feels to remain nearby. The nervous system begins listening more closely, sensing ease or tension beneath the surface of interaction. Calmness is often felt before intelligence is recognized. A regulated presence communicates stability without trying to prove anything. Stillness, when unforced, can read as confidence, not the loud kind, but the kind that doesn't rush to fill space. Unhurried behavior signals an internal steadiness that words rarely convey. Silence here can feel safer than explanation. Not every pause needs to be justified. When someone allows quiet to exist without discomfort, the body relaxes. Presence becomes something shared rather than something performed. This is where beauty quietly loses its power if presence creates tension. A striking appearance cannot compensate for a nervous system that feels erratic or draining. Proximity begins to matter more than impression. This layer decides whether closeness feels comfortable or costly, whether being together restores energy or depletes it. And when presence offers ease, attraction deepens without effort, not because of what is said, but because of how the space itself feels. If presence feels safe, the connection continues to unfold. As interaction continues, attraction begins to depend on rhythm, not on what is said, but on how moments are shared. This is where social intelligence quietly reveals itself, not through information, but through timing. Intelligence is sensed in knowing when to speak and when not to. A well-placed pause can carry more connection than a well-constructed sentence. Humor, when it arrives without effort, softens the space. It signals attunement, an awareness of the moment rather than a need to impress. Over-explaining often breaks this rhythm. It pulls the interaction out of flow, replacing ease with justification. Even intelligent people can lose attraction here, not because they lack depth, but because they misread the pace of connection. Miscalibration shows up in small ways: speaking too soon, filling silence too quickly, reaching for certainty when curiosity would have felt better. The content may be interesting, but the timing feels off. This layer decides whether interaction feels natural or forced. whether conversation moves like something unfolding or something being managed. When rhythm is respected, connection deepens almost invisibly. Attraction here is less about brilliance and more about harmony. As time stretches beyond moments and conversations, attraction begins to reorganize itself around respect. Not demanded, not announced, but quietly observed through behavior. This is where self-respect becomes visible. Boundaries reveal how someone values themselves, what they allow, what they decline, and what they walk away from all communicate worth without explanation. Non-neediness preserves tension and interest, not as a strategy, but as a natural result of inner fullness. Over-availability, even when well-intended, can weaken perception. When presence is unconditional, it loses contrast. And sometimes, the ability to step back or to leave increases attraction, because it confirms choice rather than dependence. Attraction without respect becomes unstable. It may feel intense, but it lacks grounding. Respect is what allows desire to stand upright instead of collapsing into insecurity. Self-respect quietly amplifies every other trait. It strengthens presence, refines interaction, and stabilizes connection. Without it, attraction drifts. With it, attraction gains structure and begins to feel reliable rather than reactive. This layer doesn't create sparks. It makes sure they don't burn out. As days turn into patterns, attraction begins to lean toward something steadier. This is where competence and direction come into view. Not through declarations, but through movement. What matters here is not what someone intends, but what consistently unfolds. Ability reveals itself quietly. Promises fade, but follow-through leaves a trace. Consistency begins to matter more than intensity, because repetition creates trust. Direction, even when modest, signals continuity, a sense that life is moving somewhere rather than circling itself. Momentum at this stage doesn't need to impress. In fact, it often feels grounding. There's a stabilizing effect in being near someone who is progressing, not urgently, but steadily. Forward motion soothes the nervous system. Attraction grows toward those who are building something, a craft, a life, a sense of order. Not because of status, but because movement reduces uncertainty. This is where attraction shifts into admiration. Desire begins to include respect for how someone engages with the world. Competence doesn't ask to be noticed, it's felt. And over time, it becomes one of the quiet reasons connection wants to stay. Over the long arc of connection, attraction is no longer tested by novelty, but by reality. This is where emotional maturity determines what survives. Not perfection, not constant harmony, but the ability to remain steady when life applies pressure. Emotional regulation stabilizes connection. The capacity to experience strong feelings without being overtaken by them creates safety. Accountability deepens trust here, not as self-criticism, but as ownership. The willingness to say, "I see my part," repairs more than defensiveness ever could. What matters most is not the absence of rupture, but the ability to repair. Stability under stress preserves attraction because it proves reliability when it's most needed. Calm responses during difficulty speak louder than affection during ease. Defensiveness and volatility quietly erode attraction over time. Not all at once, but gradually, through accumulated tension. Emotional maturity interrupts that erosion. This layer decides whether attraction can survive contact with reality. When someone remains grounded through conflict, disappointment, and change, attraction shifts from fragile to durable. This is not where attraction dazzles, it's where it endures. What attracts quickly often fades just as fast. What grows slowly tends to last. Looks may initiate attraction, but presence sustains it. Self-respect anchors it. Intelligence deepens it. And emotional maturity determines how long it can survive reality. Attraction is not a performance held together by charm or effort. It's a coherence that reveals itself across time. Each layer either supports the next or quietly undermines it. When one is missing, connection feels unstable, no matter how